Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of solving quadratic equations. This is standard A.8A in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 41 off the 2018 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we have this area of a rectangular trampoline, and we've got this situation. They've already given it to us here. We're looking for the width, so we're solving for W, basic quadratic here. They give it to us in standard form here, right? So we could easily do the quadratic equation, which I'll do in just a moment, but I also want to show you that you can solve this if you complete the square. So we'll set that up for our quadratic right there. So if I wanted to complete the square, I'm just going to simply move that 112 over to the other side, right? So I'm going to say w squared plus 6w. I'm going to add 112 to both sides to get that 112, which is how they originally had it, right, in this problem situation here. I'm going to complete the square. So what that means is I'm wanting it to look like this, right? So if I can get it to look like x plus a squared, which factored out means x squared plus 2ax plus a squared. If I can get it to look like this, then I can turn it into like that and take the square root, which means this 6w here is going to be in that 2ax spot, okay? Now in this case, instead of x's, we're using w's, so let's solve for a. And so I'll say 2ax equals, and I'm just going to substitute in an x for that w, because what we're doing is we're solving for a. So to solve for a, divide both sides by 2x, and what do we have? Well, that cancels out. A equals 6 over 2, 3. Okay, so a equals 3, which means this third term that I put here needs to be a squared. So that's going to be 3 times 3, that's 9. But you can't just add 9 to one side without the other, so now I need to add 9 over here. But now all of this looks just like this, which means I can then translate it into this. So it's w plus 3 squared equals, let's simplify that to 121, square root of both sides. And that's going to be w plus 3 equals plus or minus 11, right? You have to keep the plus or the minus. Now, obviously, this is a real world situation, so we're not going to have a negative, so we can just call it that positive right there. So solving for w is going to be w equals 8. Now, that's how we do it with completing the square. As always, we can always use our quadratic equation here. So a equals 1, b equals 6, and c equals negative 112. So negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So let's start plugging in some numbers. Negative b is negative 6 plus or minus square root of 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times 1 times, and then I've got a negative 112. Okay, so that's going to make that a positive up there. 2a is going to be 2 times 1. So we do some more simplification here. Negative 6 plus or minus square root of 36, that's going to be a plus. So what is 112 times 4? That's going to be 448 over 2 equals negative 6 plus or minus square root of, let's see, what is 36 and 448? 484. 484 over 2. And then if we square root 484, we get a nice even 22. So that's going to be negative 6 plus or minus 22 over 2. It's a real world situation, so we're not going to have a negative. So let's just say negative 6 plus 22. That's going to equal, look at that, 16 over 2. That looks familiar. That's going to get us 8. Right? We could have done the negative 28, but in a real world situation, we're not going to have a negative width. So either way you look at it, our w is going to equal 8. The answer is C.